Welcome to the mysterious and fascinating world of ancient Egypt, one of the longest lasting and most influential civilizations in human history. Spanning more than 3,000 years, ancient Egypt emerged along the fertile banks of the Nile River, developing complex social structures, remarkable technology, and enduring cultural achievements. From the towering pyramids and majestic temples to the enigmatic hieroglyphs and deeply spiritual beliefs about death and the afterlife, ancient Egypt continues to captivate the imaginations of millions around the world. In this video, we will embark on a detailed journey through ancient Egyptian history, culture, religion, art, and daily life, unwrapping the secrets of one of the greatest civilizations ever to walk the earth. Whether you are a history enthusiast or just curious about this incredible culture, join me as we travel back in time to uncover the fascinating story of ancient Egypt. The story of ancient Egypt is inseparable from the Nile River, the lifeblood that nurtured the desert and enabled civilization to flourish. The Nile is the world's longest river, stretching over 6,600 kilometers from the heart of Africa to the Mediterranean Sea. Ancient Egyptians called it Hapi, and they revered it as a divine force, for it was their source of life. Every year, the Nile flooded its banks in a regular cycle, depositing nutrient-rich silt on the land. This annual inundation created a narrow strip of fertile soil along the riverbanks, making farming possible in an otherwise arid and inhospitable desert environment. This narrow green ribbon running north to south gave rise to the name Kemet, the black land for the fertile soil, as opposed to the surrounding red land desert. The Nile's flood cycle was so reliable that Egyptian farmers developed an agricultural calendar based on it, planting crops like wheat, barley, flax, and papyrus in the rich soil. The Nile was also a vital transportation route, enabling people and goods to travel quickly and efficiently. Boats and barges sailed its waters, connecting Upper Egypt in the south with Lower Egypt in the north. This connectivity helped unify the country politically, economically, and culturally. To the east and west of the Nile lay harsh deserts, the Eastern Desert and the Western Desert, home to valuable minerals, quarries, and trade routes. Along the Nile, lush oases dotted the landscape, and beyond the deserts, Egypt was bordered by Nubia to the south, Libya to the west, and the Sinai Peninsula and Levant to the northeast. The Nile Valley's geography shaped every aspect of Egyptian life and was crucial to the rise of one of history's most enduring civilizations. The roots of ancient Egypt's civilization stretch back to the Neolithic period, when early communities began farming along the Nile around 6000 BCE. By around 4000 BCE, two distinct cultural regions had formed: Upper Egypt, the southern part of the Nile Valley, and Lower Egypt, the Nile Delta in the north. These two regions had different dialects, customs, and political centers. According to Egyptian tradition and supported by archaeological evidence, around 3100 BCE, a powerful ruler named Narmer, also known as Menes, unified Upper and Lower Egypt into a single kingdom. Narmer's unification is depicted on the famous Narmer palette, an artifact showing him wearing both the white crown of Upper Egypt and the red crown of Lower Egypt, symbolizing the fusion of the two lands. This unification marked the start of the early dynastic period and the establishment of the first pharaonic dynasty. The pharaoh, or great house, was not only a political leader but also seen as a divine figure, the earthly embodiment of the gods. Pharaohs ruled with absolute authority and were believed to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order, truth, and justice. This period saw the development of writing systems, such as early hieroglyphics, and the foundation of a centralized government with bureaucracies controlling irrigation, taxation, and law. The capital was established at Memphis, near the Nile Delta, becoming the political and religious heart of Egypt. Early Egyptians built mud brick settlements, developed pottery and weaving, and began large-scale farming. Trade networks expanded to neighboring regions for valuable goods like gold, copper, incense, and exotic animals. The unification of Egypt laid the groundwork for its future prosperity and the development of one of the world's earliest and most sophisticated civilizations. The Old Kingdom period, roughly from 2686 to 2181 BCE, is often called the Age of the Pyramids, due to the massive stone structures built as tombs for pharaohs. This era marked the peak of centralized power and cultural development. Pharaohs were viewed as divine intermediaries between the gods and people and believed to become gods themselves in the afterlife. The most famous of the Old Kingdom pharaohs was Khufu, who commissioned the Great Pyramid of Giza, the last surviving wonder of the ancient world. Built with extraordinary precision and millions of limestone blocks, the pyramid symbolized Pharaoh Khufu's divine power and was intended to ensure his safe passage into the afterlife. The Giza complex also includes pyramids of Khufu's successors, Khafre and Menkaure, as well as the Great Sphinx, a massive statue with the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh, believed to guard the tombs. Old Kingdom Egypt saw incredible advances in architecture, engineering, and organization. Building pyramids required the mobilization of thousands of laborers, artisans, and engineers, all coordinated by a sophisticated bureaucracy. Art and sculpture flourished, characterized by strict conventions emphasizing order, symmetry, and eternal perfection. The Egyptian belief system emphasized an eternal afterlife, so elaborate burial practices developed to preserve the body and provide for the deceased in the next world. The process of mummification, use of funerary masks, amulets, and tomb paintings all aimed to protect the soul and ensure rebirth. However, toward the end of the Old Kingdom, signs of political fragmentation and economic difficulties emerged, leading to the collapse of centralized authority and the onset of the First Intermediate Period, a time of instability and decentralization. After nearly 2 centuries of division and chaos, the Middle Kingdom arose around 2050 BCE, when Pharaoh Mentuhotep II reunified Egypt. This period lasted until around 1710 BCE and is sometimes called the Classical Age of Egyptian culture. The Middle Kingdom restored political stability and prosperity. Pharaohs focused on internal development, building irrigation projects, fortresses, and temples. Trade networks expanded beyond Egypt's borders, reaching into Nubia to the south and the Levant to the northeast. Art, literature, and religion flourished with new literary works like The Tale of Sinuhe, considered a masterpiece of Egyptian storytelling. Pharaohs were portrayed as benevolent shepherds caring for their people, emphasizing justice and ma'at. Military campaigns expanded Egypt's influence in Nubia, securing valuable resources such as gold mines. The Middle Kingdom kings built large rock-cut tombs in the Valley of the King's precursor sites, and the practice of burial shifted from pyramids to hidden tombs to avoid grave robbers. This era laid the cultural foundation for the even greater achievements of the New Kingdom. The New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE, was the apex of ancient Egypt's power, wealth, and influence. This era is known for its famous pharaohs, territorial expansion, monumental architecture, and religious transformations. Pharaoh Ahmose I expelled the Hyksos invaders who had occupied parts of Egypt, founding the 18th dynasty and launching Egypt's imperial period. The empire extended its control into Nubia, the Levant, and parts of Syria, becoming a major regional power. Pharaohs like Hatshepsut, one of the few female rulers, built magnificent temples, such as her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari, renowned for its terraces and detailed reliefs. The famous Akhenaten introduced revolutionary religious reforms, promoting monotheism centered on Aten, the sun disk. His radical changes disrupted traditional priesthoods and practices, but his successor, Tutankhamun, restored the old gods. Tutankhamun is famous today largely because his nearly intact tomb was discovered in the 20th century, revealing a treasure trove of artifacts. Ramses II, called the Great, reigned for over 60 years, building colossal statues, temples such as Abu Simbel, and engaging in legendary battles like Kadesh. The New Kingdom pharaohs were buried in the Valley of the Kings, hidden tombs carved deep into cliffs to protect their remains and treasures. This era was a golden age of art, literature, and culture, leaving a lasting legacy, admired worldwide. Religion was at the heart of Egyptian life, influencing everything from politics to art to daily activities. Ancient Egyptians believed in a complex pantheon of gods and goddesses, each representing different aspects of the world. Ra, the sun god, was the supreme deity who traveled across the sky by day and the underworld by night. Osiris, god of the afterlife, death, and resurrection, symbolized the eternal cycle of life. His wife, Isis, was worshipped as a powerful goddess of magic, motherhood, and healing. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, guarded the dead and oversaw mummification rituals. The concept of Ma'at, or cosmic order, was vital, maintaining harmony between gods, nature, and humanity. The Egyptians believed the soul had several parts, including the Ka, life force, Ba, personality, and Ak, transformed spirit. They performed complex burial rites to ensure the soul's safe passage and eternal life. The Book of the Dead contains spells and prayers to guide the deceased through the dangers of the underworld. Temples were centers of worship, economic activity, and learning, staffed by priests who performed rituals and maintained sacred spaces. Festivals celebrated the gods and agricultural cycles, often involving music, dance, and feasting. This rich religious culture profoundly shaped Egyptian art, literature, and politics for millennia. Ancient Egyptian society was highly stratified, but also interconnected. At the top was the pharaoh, considered a god-king, followed by nobles, priests, scribes, artisans, merchants, farmers, and laborers. Most people were farmers, working the land along the Nile to produce crops that sustained the kingdom. Artisans crafted pottery, jewelry, textiles, and tools, while scribes recorded everything from tax records to literature. Education was highly valued for boys in elite families, focusing on reading, writing, and administration. Women generally managed households but could also own property, run businesses, and were respected for their roles as mothers and wives. Food staples included bread, beer, onions, fish, and dates. Music, dance, board games, and storytelling were popular pastimes. Family life was important, and tomb paintings often depicted domestic scenes filled with joy and abundance. Trade was vital, bringing in luxury goods like cedar wood, gold, incense, and precious stones. Egyptian art is instantly recognizable for its stylized forms, symbolic colors, and focus on order and balance. Artists followed strict conventions to portray people and gods in idealized forms rather than realistic depictions. Hieroglyphics, a combination of pictographs and phonetic signs, was the writing system used for religious texts, monuments, and official records. Scribes were highly respected for their skill and knowledge. Papyrus, made from the Nile reed, was the first form of paper and allowed the creation of scrolls containing everything from literature to administrative documents. Architecture ranged from monumental stone temples and pyramids to humble mud brick homes. The use of columns, obelisks, statues, and intricate relief carvings showcased the Egyptians' engineering and artistic prowess. Notable structures include the step pyramid of Djoser, temples of Karnak and Luxor, and the rock-cut tombs of the Valley of the Kings. Art and architecture served religious, political, and social purposes, expressing divine power, honoring the dead, and celebrating the pharaoh. Despite its grandeur, ancient Egypt civilization eventually declined due to a combination of internal strife, economic troubles, invasions, and changing climates. The New Kingdom fell into a period of decline known as the Third Intermediate Period, marked by fragmentation and foreign invasions by Libyans, Nubians, and Assyrians. In 332 BCE, Alexander the Great conquered Egypt, ushering in the Hellenistic era with the famous city of Alexandria. Later, Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire. However, the legacy of ancient Egypt persisted. Its art, architecture, religious ideas, and scientific knowledge influenced Greek and Roman culture and the broader world. Modern archaeology, beginning in the 19th century, has unveiled the mysteries of ancient Egypt, revealing treasures and knowledge that continue to inspire fascination today.
Ancient Egypt remains one of the most enduring and captivating civilizations in human history. Its monumental achievements in architecture, governance, religion, and culture continue to inspire awe and admiration. From the towering pyramids to the rich mythology, from the bustling markets on the Nile to the quiet tombs of pharaohs, ancient Egypt's story is one of human ingenuity, faith, and resilience.
And that brings us to the end of our journey through the incredible world of ancient Egypt, a civilization of mystery, innovation, and timeless beauty. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please leave a like. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss future documentaries on ancient history, powerful empires, and lost civilizations. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and tell me, what fascinates you the most about ancient Egypt? Was it the pyramids, the gods, the pharaohs, or something else? Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the past to understand our world today.